Hey guys, welcome back. It's Crossing the Lines with Guess Who? Johnny and who?
Zeta.
That's right. On that audio delay, of course. Yep. She's like on that cursing delay on national TV. You know, it's like 2 seconds delay.
I'll get it eventually.
Eventually you'll get it, yeah. So tonight's topic, tonight's episode, this is actually going to be kind of, I think a little more heartfelt kind of topics from what we usually talk about. So we're talking about aging parents. You know, we're at that stage now in our lives where our parents are around, or like in my case, my parents are not around. And so yeah, we're gonna go talk about aging parents and what that may look like. You know, so Zeta, what you got for us?
And so, this is something that I think about a lot because I'm so fortunate to have both my parents, but they are getting older. My dad is going to be 81 in April, so that's a big milestone. My mom is slightly younger. She's actually in her mid 60s. My dad got himself a young chick, so.
That
But
motherfucker robbed the cradle.
but in any event, she is, a sick woman. So that concerns me, and I just think about like, one, how would I how would I get along without my parents, right? Like just the loss of a parent. Like I can't even imagine the emotions that you have gone through. But even before you get to, God forbid, losing a parent, everything that leads up to that, right? And sometimes it's very hard for us to see our parents evolve from these, strong, independent people that they were to these more fragile, dependent people.
Yeah. You said it there. I had to deal with that twice. My mother having dementia for a number of years, and then it turned to Alzheimer's. My father, military guy, very strong, born in the wrong century. He's supposed to be like some medieval warrior. And
that's so true.
yeah, he was ready to fight, go to any war it was. He would sign up for it. Like you're weird. And he wound up having a stroke, being paralyzed in his right side of his body. Luckily, he was left-handed. So, and then he wound up passing of cancer, and I took care of him for over a year. I was his CNA, and then I went for over a year, about a year and a half or so, and so his appointments in the VA. It's kind of hard for me to talk about it.
It's almost like having children, right? Like the roles become reversed.
Yes.
As our parents age. We now take on the responsibility of caring for them. For me and my siblings, one thing that we did was we moved our parents closer to us. We grew up in Brooklyn, and most of us migrated to the Bronx, and our parents were in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, sorry, basically by themselves. And it came a point where they needed to move from where they were at, and we were kind of looking for places in Brooklyn for them, and then it kind of just dawned on us and was like, you know what? They're getting older and they're going to need us more. All of us were taking turns kind of traveling out to Brooklyn just to check up on them, or if they needed something, or they needed to go to a doctor's appointment. We would kind of like figure out who was going to do that. And then it kind of dawned on us, we're like, you know what? We need to bring them closer to us because they're only going to get older. They're only going to need more help. And it started becoming increasingly difficult because we also started building our own families, right? And that's where it kind of becomes challenging as well. Like, for me, for a long time, it was just me, I didn't have to worry about, picking up a kid or dropping off a kid. So I was the one that was most at their disposal for a long time. And then after I had my son, it started becoming really difficult for me just to take, what used to be a quick trip to Brooklyn was not any longer a quick trip to Brooklyn anymore,
No, and this is where our conversation kind of gets deep because I never was able to have that conversation with my parents about the next steps in the twilight of the years, the sunset that might be approaching. And that's where, people who don't have their parents now, that conversation needs to happen. First definitely with your siblings, and then with your parents about seriously, thinking about what's the next steps. And you're going to be talking about funeral arrangements and the way they want to be buried, and as far as healthcare and who they want to be the proxy or the person in charge, and of course siblings just fight over stuff like that, and I think once you put things in the air and include everybody into it, it makes things a lot easier.
But there's such difficult conversations to have, right? Because
Absolutely.
like for the parents, no one wants to talk about, about their potential death. And for children, like I avoid it all the time. Like, my mom has a series of health conditions, and, one of them, she's diabetic, and sometimes, like, her feet, she feels like she doesn't have enough circulation, and she's like, oh, I'm going to the doctor because I don't want them to agitate my toes, which is very possible, right? Because,
Right.
I mean, that kind of happens with diabetes. And I'm always like, oh, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, you're perfectly fine. Like, and for me, it's my defense mechanism, right? Like, and she
Right.
probably doesn't know that. I mean, I do try to remain positive all the time and tell her she's fine. But I also know for me, it's a defense mechanism because I don't think that I'm prepared to deal with any of my parents, passing. And last year, both of them were diagnosed with cancer. And it was very scary, I'm sure for my siblings as well as for me to think like they've been here all my life, and there's the possibility of them not being around. It was not only hard to deal with, hard to think about, but in that, my dad started having radiation, and I took like the first week he had like 9 weeks of radiation. The first week he was having radiation, I took off and I went with him every day, and it was just kind of like wow, like interesting, like how the roles had been flipped. Like now it was, us taking them to the doctor and us talking to their doctors and making sure that they were getting the best care that they needed,
Even that's the point, at least, with Pops, he was in the VA, knowing everything about his medical records, and then we're getting home and making him eat because he was getting treatment for the cancer he had, and he wouldn't be hungry, but he had to eat. And it was very like you said, the roles were truly reversed, and not being able to sleep at night, so much watching to make sure nothing happened overnight. And then
like we would do with our children, right?
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what we did with our kids.
I gave this grown man baths. I washed everything. My hand was in cracks that it shouldn't have been in. You know what I'm saying? But as my father's Pops, how can I not do that? And my mother, she went from being very joyful and dancing and engaging to not knowing who I was. At one point thinking I was her brother, to not knowing, to not walking anymore, not talking anymore, and just being immobile. And to see someone dwindle down like that for years, because she was in a nursing home for about 3 years, was tough, very hard. When you see your parent not be themselves, who they are. And Pops would go see her still. He had a stroke, and he would, try everything's gonna be fine. And he wound up passing before her, and then 6 months later, she passed. And
Let me ask you a question for our listeners who who we hope no one's going through that now, but for anyone that might be going through that, like what keeps you going? Like what for you kept you going each day and like trying to remain positive?
The memories, the laughter, honestly, that's all the memories I had. And knowing that Pops was actually not my real father. He never called me his stepson. I never called him my stepfather. I would just call him Pops. And the way he took care of us, the family as a whole, perpetuated me to this take care of him. There was no question that the determination, the focus, and motivation, whatever you want to call it. There wasn't any. It was just, this is what you have to do. This is your father. This is your mother. But the memories, when I would sit with my mother and just watch her, she had this blank stare in her eyes. And I would just, I would cry, no doubt about it. But then I would laugh. There's about times where I would talk to her. She loved Michael Jackson. She'd be dancing Michael Jackson. She'd be watching BET 106 in Park. Because mommy was gangster. She was ghetto. So, things like that. You know what I'm saying? And with Pops, his stories, he was such a caring guy, when he wasn't drunk. But he was a very giving person. He loved women to death. He was always taught me to open doors for women, treat women with respect and kindness and tenderness. And I've always done that. I was modeled myself after him. So remembering those things, even the bad times too, even the tough times, even the times that you may have said, I can't stand my mother, I hate her. Even those times you reflect on it like, damn, I'm glad that you was even here for me to say that though. Because you want that option. You never want the option of not saying anything. You know what I'm saying? And
you know what I struggle with?
Yeah.
I struggle with, because my parents thankfully are still alive, I struggle with that balance of like wanting to spend time with them and wanting to like kind of document like, our lives now versus everything else I have going on in my life, right? So for you lost your parents within 6 months of each other. Like how did you kind of manage everything in your life, your family, your children, your work, like, because sometimes I'll come home and it'll be like a Thursday and I'm like, damn, my parents literally live 3 houses from me, right? And it'll be like a Thursday. I'm like, damn, I haven't seen my parents all week. And I probably didn't even talk to them all week, and I'll try to like run over there really quick and see how they're doing. And I'm just like, and then I feel really guilty because I'm like, shit, like I moved them closer to me so that I could spend more time. But because of everything I have going on in my life, sometimes it's hard to make it over there. So, I mean, how did you balance that? Did you feel like you neglected like your family, like your children, to take care of your parents, or were you able to kind of balance that out?
No, there's no such thing as balance. Things like that happen. Something has to get sacrificed. But the biggest thing I had was people like yourself. I was able to talk to. People came down to help. So the family really came together. You know what I'm saying? That helped out. That made things, at least the load was kind of bared upon different shoulders at certain moments. So it was never easy. I may have missed the recital here or there because Pops was sick or Mom wasn't doing well. The kids understood, but I didn't like the fact that they had to understand. You know what I'm saying? Even explaining it to my kids and having them go to the nursing home was another conversation. And letting them explore their feelings and then letting them vent to me about their feelings. That was difficult. So there was no true balance, but it was definitely a lot of help. And the burden wasn't just solely on me. It was definitely shared. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you want. I can't lie to you and say, yeah, I had it under control, and it was manageable. Fuck that. It wasn't manageable. You're emotional, and then you're trying to hold tight for your fans. You know what I'm saying? And it's difficult, and you're gonna break down. Your kid may see you fucking tear up in the kitchen. Your husband and wife may see you, and you're like, yo, what's going on? And you gotta be honest, let it go. And that's what I did. And once I was honest with myself and my feelings, then I already knew what I had to do next. It was like, I got to cherish and visit them as much as I can. Like I said, with Pop's situation, I was able to take care of him. It wasn't an ideal situation, but that situation went out. And I had to make the most of it. And I have some funny stories, He punched me in my face twice. and, he went to go get, I remember one time, I get back to the punching in the face, right? So I got out of work, after work, and I'm going to the supermarket. I'm in the supermarket, and I'm shopping. Oh, Pops has this cake. Pops always loves chocolates. I'm buying his sweets or whatever. I'm buying groceries. And guess what I see down the aisle, down the candy aisle? I see
He's
Pops
there?
in his own. I see Pops in his own fucking budget, shopping for his chocolates. And mind you, this man is half paralyzed, and he drove the car to the grocery store, to the supermarket. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he was like,
I'm laughing so hard because I knew him so well.
Right. So I get to him and say, Pops, what are you doing here? And he always called me Papa. You know what I'm saying? He's like, Papa, I just wanted some sweets. He's like, I was going to get you. I said, put your stuff in my coach. You know, I got my own money. I said, no, you don't. I said, just give me this stuff. Because he was still a man's man. I was like, listen, give me your coach. I said, go to my coach. And I said, Pops, go home. I'm going to see you then. Okay? So, I buy the stuff. Pops left. I go to our apartment and we're sharing together. And guess who was not there? Pops wasn't there. So now I'm freaking out. I'm scared as shit. I'm like, oh my God, he got into an accident. He's in a ditch somewhere. Or maybe worse, he hit somebody. Maybe they're dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these things run through my mind. And then I'm like, I can't call my sisters and let them know I lost Pops. Because that's a bad move. So I was kind of keeping it to myself. I'm like, first I find him, then I tell the story. But I can't tell the story ahead of time. Like, I'm getting screamed at. I'm a grown ass man. I'm worried about my sisters. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to run out the house. Why did this dude come in? Actually, no, I left. I go back, right? I go back to Kroger just to see if he was there again. He's not. I'm driving up and down the street. There's nothing. There's no accident. There's nothing. They're quiet as hell. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go back home. Now I see his car in the handicap spot. And I'm like, all right, where the fuck did he go? So I enter the apartment. He's there eating a slice of pizza. Hey, Papa, I went to Pizza Hut next door for the supermarket. I figured we'd have some dinner together. I was so pissed, but so happy at the same time. Looked at him. I'm just like, you just can't listen to me. And then when I said that to him, he was like, I know, right? And when he said that, I know he meant because I would not listen to him when I was a kid. And those moments like that, even though he was sick, and he had some hard days when we went to the VA, and he had his chemo. And the drive back was always the worst for him. It was an hour away. But moments like that keep you going. Like, even to this day, I still choke up, and I would give him a bath. Because he was such a man's man. He would always say, I'm sorry, Papa. I'm sorry. Because, I ain't gonna do this. But, he was embarrassed. He didn't want to be able to wash himself. And I had to wash him. And he will always apologize every single time I washed him. I was telling Pops, never apologize. Like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do on your son. And it was, that's what sticks in my mind. That even then, I knew that I didn't want to take his manhood away from him ever. I didn't want to do that. But that always touched me. Even to this day now, whenever I talk about it, I get choked up because to see him that vulnerable. This guy was a warrior. He was the strongest man I've ever known. Physically and mentally, just warrior. And then to see him in this other light was like, damn, we all are human. You know what I'm saying? And the way he
let's talk about the first time, like, you see your parents, like, naked, or you see them in a way, like, you're not supposed to see your parents. Like, and this is what happens as they get older, right? Like,
yeah.
Because they become like your children, now it's like, it's just, everything is there, right? Like,
and I'll tell you right now, like, it's weird because when that happened, I had to give him back. I just did it. You don't think. You just start doing.
So when my dad got diagnosed with with what cancer did he have last year? He had prostate cancer. When he got diagnosed with prostate cancer, he had to have like a colonoscopy, I think it was, and so he had to have an enema. But like, so my mom calls me. She's like, I can't do this. Like, you have to come over here. You have to. And I'm like, I'm not going to give my father an enema like that. Like, that's just all time low. Like, I'm not going to do that. And my mom's like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I remember talking to my sister. I'm like, okay, you got to do this. And she's like, nope, I'm not doing that. So I go over there, and of course, I have to give it to him. And I'm there, like, and I felt like I was in the twilight zone, right? Like, I think I've never seen my father in this position. Like, I've never, like, he's always been such a, like, a strong man. Like, he would have never allowed me to do that, obviously 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So it's a bit of a shock for both for both people, right? Like,
yeah.
to your point, like, your dad was very apologetic because he felt really bad about putting you in that position. But it's also a shock for you too, because you're now in the position of caregiver and you're doing all these things that you would have
to give themselves up to you like that. It's a lot of trust and love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a lot of trust and love right there for him to allow you to feel. I'm sure he was uncomfortable, but there was a lot of trust and love knowing that I'd rather have you do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's huge. That shows all the stuff that they taught you. Now you start kind of playing the movie back. Everything starts kind of rewinding, and you kind of go flash forward, flash back, to your childhood, and all that comes to light. And then, like you said, you do have your own family, you do have your own life. You move them closer to you, but then they still feel kind of like they still could be like 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you do have to make a conscious effort to not just make time with them because you think they're going to pass by tomorrow, but to make time with them because they're the monarchs of the family, and they deserve that respect. And that you should make it at least once a week dinner with them, whether they go to your house or their house, just so they just feel like, yo, we're still top dogs in the family, no matter what. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's the toughest part about them aging is the refusal for them to relinquish power over certain things, right? Like, my dad is going to be 81, and I don't really think he should be driving. He's really not the best driver. Like, it's funny because he used to be an amazing driver, and now he kind of sucks at it, right? So, I'm always like, you shouldn't be driving. Like, I just feel like it's time for him to give up the car, like, just get rid of it. The other day he got, so in New York City they give, I guess, senior citizens this access or ride, like a Metro card now. So he basically has like free subway and bus rides for the rest of his life, right? And he can take one person with him, like a home attendant or someone whoever's helping him, right? So I'm telling them, the both of you can literally like just, ride around the city on the bus or the subway for free, like for the rest of your life. Like, you don't need a car. Like, you don't need a car. But for someone who drove all his life, right, and someone who's used to getting into a vehicle and going wherever he wants, it's almost like a sense of being defeated, right? If you give up driving, or you give up your vehicle. So he holds on to it so hard because I know that he doesn't want to give it up, because then it's another sign of him, just getting older, and another sign of some things that he can't do.
They don't want to feel left out.
Exactly.
They still want to feel independent and not dependent on their children. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But then that's where, again, the family has to get together and say, hey, that's what we had to do with Pops. Pops, we had to take Pops out the car. He couldn't drive no more. And we had to tell him the car got stolen. But
no.
yeah. And but he knew though. He knew the car didn't get stolen. You know what I'm saying? But he was like, really got stolen? Yeah, Pops, your car's a hot car, man. It really wasn't. me sound central. You know what I'm saying? So, but we told him that, you know what I'm saying? So he didn't feel like it was taken away from him. Even though it was taken away because it was stolen. But, supposedly. But he was okay with that instead of us telling him you can't drive no more. So now we're telling him what you can't do. But when we told him it was stolen, he said, oh man, what a shame. That's too bad. I like your car. You know, I was like, I know, Pops. I said, maybe get another one. He said, yeah, Papa, we got another one. I said, yeah, we'll look at it. I said, okay. Not too soon. No, not too soon. And it's funny because they revert back into childhood, you know. And my mom, like I said, you know, it's different. You have someone who is just deteriorating year after year. And at some points, you're just like, when is it going to be over? That's the hardest part, too. You know what I'm saying? And there's no better way to go, whether it's unexpectedly or is it fast or is it long? Is it bad overall? And for them to lose them back to back like the way we did is very difficult. Very, very difficult. And it was a difficult conversation with the kids, you know, and we made sure we made them a part of everything in the ceremonies and things, and had to include them to everything. And that's where the family has to really get behind one another. But I think we could always be better prepared. You know, this is a tough conversation, but at least you have them still aware where you can have the conversation with them. So you don't want to wait till it's too late, and then you don't know what to do. And you got to have the conversation with your siblings first. And some people are going to do better than others with it. Some people say, oh, don't talk to me about that. I want to see that. I want to hear that. And I get it. Everyone's different. But the conversation still has to be made. And as long as you include that person's in there, the people who kind of exit a little bit earlier, still keep them in the mix, in the know. But the conversation has to happen. You know what I'm saying? Because then that way, when you do this, it'll be easier for you to have a conversation with your child. Say, hey, this is what we did our parents. Let me set you up for success too. This is what we want. This is what I want. And that's what I'm doing myself. Like I know exactly what I want, how I want it. And that discussion with my kids will happen probably, maybe another 10 years from now. You know what I'm saying? So they can really be prepared and ready. You know? And that's what it's about. It's about making sure you take care of your own. That's your family. That's the people who created you. They deserve that much respect and attention for their sunset. You know what I'm saying? Which is huge. And that's what people need to really take the time out and really discover that. And like I said, take time out to spend more time with them. You know, document, like you said. Fuck yeah, do it. Take many pictures, videos, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be a big event. You can just, like I said, you're having dinner at the house, you're just laughing, and you're recording that. Those are the best moments. Not the ones that you actually plan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just do that. Of course, be aware of their sickness, but make sure everyone does support. Because you just can't do it by yourself. Hell, you won't be able to survive by yourself. It'll be way too much. Way too much. Everyone has to pitch in. And I was lucky enough to have that with my sisters where everyone pitched in. You know, everyone played the part that they should have played. You know. So it was a good thing. You know, especially when we found out that it was time for Mommy to go into a nursing home. We got together as siblings, sat down, went to a restaurant, we spoke and said, yo, this is what we need to, this is the next steps. And we all went together to look at nursing homes, and some were very concerning. You know, some I couldn't believe that people were living there until we found the right one for us. And it turned out, okay until unfortunately, later on. But she wanted to pass it. So
which is another difficult decision, right? Because you kind of had like both ends of the spectrum. Like you had a parent that was in a nursing home, and then you had a parent that you chose not to put in a nursing home, and and that's something that I kind of joke around with my mother a lot, right? Like I'm like, cause my mother and I, we have like this push-pull relationship. We hate each other, we love each other, we hate each other, we love each other. And I'm always like, don't worry. No matter what happens, I'm like, I'm never gonna put you in a nursing home. It's kind of like this ongoing joke that we have, because you hear horror stories about nursing homes, right? And you feel like it's, we don't, if I can take care of you, I will. But what a lot of people don't realize is that taking care of a sick person is not as easy as you may think, right? Because you
Oh
still
no. Yeah.
you still got to go to work. You still got to have, you still are going through your daily routines, and not everyone has the resources to keep
Yeah.
somebody at home. I have a friend who, she's, kind of fortunate enough to have the resources that when one of her parents got sick, she had a private nurse come to the house. But this nurse cost, I don't know, like $400-500 a day,
Yeah.
and she had this private nurse come to the house, and the nurse came, through, until the end, until this parent was no longer with her. But not everybody has those resources either. So I think, people, like for me, I kind of joke around with my mom and say, "Oh, I'll never put you in a nursing home." But I don't think most people want to put their parents in a nursing home, right? But
No, you don't.
sometimes you don't have the
Listen,
resources to keep them
Sharon,
home.
listen, it's the next best option because you can't take care of them. You'll be doing them a disservice if you try to keep them home. If you become that selfish, you know what I'm saying? Because they're not getting the proper health care that they need. Not to say nursing homes are any better, but you know what I'm saying? If you find the right one that's staffed correctly, then yeah, then you have something you can really attend to and visit them. But you also need now to go to appointments with your parents, so you have a true understanding from the doctor what their health really looks like. Because your parents are gonna hide stuff from you. They're turning to kids again. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna tell you everything. So when I became more informed, when I went with Pops to his VA visits, like the doctor at one point was just talking to Pops, and as he seen me there every single day, every week, he began to make that transition talking to me, to the Pops. And um, that's where I gained a lot of insight from the doctor how bad it was, and as far as what next steps I need to take. And that's what you have to do now. You may have to go to a couple of appointments for your mom and for your dad to really get some bearing on where they're at, and then from there take that back to your siblings. Say, hey, this is what we're looking at as a family. This is what we need to talk about. It's a hard conversation. It's not an easy one to start up, but this is something that you have to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that your parents will appreciate as well. Because they're scared too. Let's face it, everyone's scared in that position. You know what I'm saying? And no one really want to talk about that twilight. You know what I'm saying? That sums up. So make it easier for yourself and for them by doing it ahead of time. And if your parents don't have a will, you definitely want to make sure they have that.
My parents are broke. They don't. The will's gonna be like, we have nothing.
No, but
we're gonna divide nothing by 4.
No, but I think people confuse the will for monetary stuff like a huge estate. No, like if let's say your father had this collection, and it has meant something to him, but it's a piece of him. He may want to separate that between all of you guys. You guys all have a piece of him. You know what I'm saying? Same with your mom, and that's where people need to really understand the will is important. Have a will, definitely get one. And if your parents don't have one, definitely get them to get one soon. Because to deal with an estate is a pain in the ass, let me tell you. And there's estate taxes and things like that. So just be aware of that. And there's pieces of how many death certificates do you purchase, because you got to send it out to their bill collectors to prove that they passed away. Then you have to post it in the newspaper as well, in obituaries, so people are aware that out there is recorded publicly that they're deceased. So then you're looking at freaking as far as a funeral home. What does that look like? Is the person going to have your best interest at heart? Pricing is definitely another thing, right? There's a lot that goes into it. And if you wait till the last minute, you're going to try to do all that within 3 days. You know what I'm saying? And that becomes too much. So everything tends to be, planned out. It's a lot smoother. A lot smoother. But of course, like I said, the family aspect of it does make things difficult. That's why we want to include any siblings you have right away in the process. If people get jealous, people are like, oh, you always were the oldest one, or you got always got the attention, or how come you get this? And if they can speak to your parents can explain to them why it may be better. But when you're trying to explain to them, you're the proxy. They just think you're doing it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So these are all things to consider. I know having aging parents and the transition that you have to go into and what they have to go into. It's not an easy gig. It's not at all. It just brings a lot back. It brings back a lot of memories of some heartache we had within the family. Some separation that we did have, and some of the times that we did actually work well together. But I did experience both where we worked well together, and then there was some dissidence within the family.
Yeah, it's definitely not something. I mean, I think it's not easy to deal with at all. So many of us obviously have to go through it because as we get older, our parents get older, and they become more of our responsibility. And I think we all kind of do it with that love because they did take care of us, as we were growing up. So we want to be sure that they're okay. But it really annoys me when they're like, hey, can you come work the DVR for me? Like, I'm just like, I've done this 4 times for you already.
Hey, and that's it, man. That's what you got to keep on laughing about. That you just have to just put your big buckies on and go over there like, I'll be right back. I got to fix that DVR again.
My dad, the older he gets, the more stubborn he gets. And he was stubborn to begin with. And so a couple months ago, they switched from like Cablevision to DirecTV or something, or Verizon, I don't know.
Right.
And it was such an ordeal because Verizon sent all the equipment in the mail. Like the cable company, like Cablevision, they'll send a technician out with the equipment.
Right.
But Verizon sends it all up ahead. So then he opened everything and took everything out, and like the cords were here, the boxes were there. When Verizon came, they couldn't figure anything out. I was just like, why did he open that box? Like, no one told him to open that box. And my mom was like, oh, no, he figures he could, put it together. And I left him because, your father does stuff like that. No, he doesn't. He was never a cable guy. Like, what are you talking about?
He fucked up shit when he was young, I remember. He fucked up shit now when he's older.
I'm like, he doesn't do that. Like, no. So for me, I mean, thankfully, like, I still have them. So for me, like, those are the things that, like, I deal with. I'm just like, you're so stubborn. Like, just listen to what we tell you guys to do, and they just, like, they don't want to relinquish any power yet, especially my dad, because he's in his 80s. So he's just like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah. And that's okay. Those are the memories. That's going to be the fun times. That's the recent times. And now to have grandchildren, that's pretty damn cool. You know what I'm saying? So capture those moments of their sensitivity that you may see with your child that they didn't have with you. So, Pops was bad strict with me, but when my kids came around, oh my God, they got spoiled. He would give them all like $6, $7, $20 at a time. Always give them money. I'm like, yo, where are you getting this money from, bro? Like,
it was your money, actually.
Yeah, he's like, I got it from my wallet. Don't go in my wallet. I said, why do I call your wallet for? I got my own money. Like, so, yeah, it's hilarious when you see that. But again, it comes down to your parents aging and changing, and some people have a little more healthier parents, and some people don't, and that's where you have to take a valid interest in your family as a whole, and your parents, medical care or lack thereof sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes parents like to hide things, and you got to be aware. You know what I'm saying? And you got to kind of nudge your foot in the door a little bit more and bust it open because they will revert to just hiding stuff like their kids do, and they don't want to worry you. I get it, but now like, hey, it's my turn to take care of you because you did such a damn good job of taking care of us. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a respect thing. It's definitely a love thing, and I think people, like I said, definitely to start their conversation, sooner than later,
Johnny, I have to really thank you for opening up with your stories today. They were very heartfelt.
No, I know sometimes I mean to ask, but this subject was very near and dear to my heart as well, and I know as to you as well, and if I can help anyone have that's listening, that has that ear, that's going through something where they're unsure about having that conversation, or going through someone of a parent who is kind of, you know, uh, passing. Hopefully, this can help them. You know what I'm saying? And kind of put them back together again. But you need help. You need friends. You need family. Don't isolate yourself. You know, get people involved, and don't about smiling. You know, you can always mourn, and there's no time limit when you can mourn. But ahead of time, do the work. You know, talk to your family, talk to your parents, just have that conversation. And if your parents turn you down, that's fine. They can turn you down. Come back in 2 months. Shouldn't be a pain in the butt. And actually get another conversation until you get your way. You know? So, but yeah, it's a great conversation. You know, we, great topic. Great topic. Appreciate that.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course. Thank you for bringing it up. So, it was good. I needed that.
It's a wrap, guys. Until the next one.
On to the next one, guys. See ya.